Yes, I want to go over the concept here of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 2, and also the sun being created on the fourth day. And that will be Genesis chapter 1, verse 16 through 19. First, let's go ahead and read Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. It states here in the King James Version, "And the earth was formless, without form, and void." That means the earth was what? Empty. Nothing. No life, no nothing. It was not even really earth in itself. It was just really nothing, because it said it was void and was without form. That means there was really no earth at all. So something had to sustain this earth. Let's find out. It also says here that upon, and darkness, yes, and darkness upon the deep waters. So water was upon the deep waters, or the deep, because it says the word deep here. So deep would be waters, because the very next sentence it says that, and the Spirit of God moved upon the surface of the waters. So if that's the case, then that means that the deep would be the waters, and in the very next sentence that you see here, it says that God's Spirit, or God Himself, was over the water. So let's take a look at a visual and see what's going on. So we say that this is the universe, and inside this universe was all this blackness, because that's where the earth is at, correct? So the earth in itself is where? In the universe. And now we have the earth. The earth was formless, but waters was where? Upon the darkness. So in other words, it had to be where? In the universe. So that means we have the earth that was inside the darkness. Because over the surface of the waters, or the deep, we have darkness. Okay? So now you can see the visual here. So let's take a look at this. And they say God was hovering over what? Over the waters. So God, or the Spirit of God, was hovering over the waters. So that means what? What was sustaining the waters? It was the darkness. It was the universe. And they say God was over the waters. So in what place was God? God was in the darkness. So if God is in the darkness, then that means what was He doing in the darkness in the first place? So now let's go on and go to the next thing here. So the darkness is also considered being the dark light. It is also referring to black light. So we can see that darkness. So if we look outside at night, we can see that the whole entire universe is full of darkness. It is also considered being dark light, or black light. Now the very next verse in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, it states here that, I got to get a little bit of lighting in here, but it says that, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So now, we have an all-powerful God that is in this darkness. He shouldn't be in the darkness at all. So that means, what's going on here? If God is dwelling in the darkness, and if He's creating something, and He needs light, then that shows you how powerful He is. I mean, come on. He couldn't see through the darkness, but He needed light in order to see through this darkness. The universe in itself, the water in itself, and He couldn't see what He was doing, and He said, "Let there be light." So the only thing that He spoke into existence was what? Light. That was the only thing that He spoke. He spoke light. It didn't say He created the darkness. It didn't say He created the waters. The The only thing that it says that he spoke of light. So now, let's take a look. If the darkness is dark light or black light, then what color light is he talking about here? So science says that light spectrum or light waves, there are 7 colors in the light spectrum. And some of these colors we cannot see. So the colors that we can see will allow you to understand your body a little bit more. So once again, what color light is he talking about here in order for him to see? Well, that will probably be white light. Because white light, we depend on white light a lot today. Our light bulbs and everything else. So that white light is a thing that God created. So if God created white light, and that light refers to Jesus, then that means what? Jesus would be white. So I can see the point of what they're talking about in these images that they put on TV, making Jesus a white Jesus. But does that make any no sense? Because the Bible also says that he is what? Of a dark-skinned color. His features are dark-skinned. So why would they say that Jesus is light and give you no reference of color of what he is, especially in the Old Testament? So now let's go on. In Exodus 10:21-23, this is where Moses came to the Pharaoh, and darkness itself was over Egypt at the time. And the Egyptians were submersed in this darkness. First of all, what is God using the power of darkness to surpass that and pull down the Egyptians? When you really think about it, does God have to deal with any darkness at all? No, because 1 John chapter 1, verse 5-10 states that God is light. Again, God is light. What color light is he? And there is no darkness in him at all. What is that referring? If there's no darkness in him at all, then that means that he shouldn't be in the darkness in the first place. Common sense says that if I have all that kind of power, I would have made the light first so that way I can see, and then it will allow me to deal with the darkness. But no, it says that God was in the darkness first, and then he created the light. Now remember, the sun was not even created yet. The sun was created on the 4th day. So where did God get this mysterious light from? Because we could look at the sun. The sun in itself does what to our cosmos, or what to where we live at. So from here, if we have the sun here, and if we have all these other different planets that are, say, not in alignment, but just say that all these different planets, then that means we have a greater light here and a lesser light here, correct? So that means that when the light goes across, that means we're going to have less light here. That means it's going to be what? More darker. Okay, it's going to be more darker here, and it's going to be lighter here. What am I referring to here? My thing is this. If we are the 3rd planet, Earth, if we are here, then that means we get the best of the sunlight. So therefore, we shouldn't be living in darkness. We should be living where? In the sunlight. Not Jesus' light, but the sunlight. That's where we're living. Because even Jesus stated in the Bible that I am the light. Okay, well, if we're living in Jesus, we must be living where? In the sun. Because we are living in the sunlight, are we not? And when the sun goes down, we have the moon, and that means what? We're living in darkness. But it's an artificial light. That light is reflecting off of the sun in the direction that the earth and stuff rotates. So depending on where the earth rotates, it's going to show you, if you look up at the moon, you're going to see the reflection of the light. And that light comes from the sun. It doesn't come from Jesus, I can tell you that. So now, let's take a look at this. again, if I were to tell you that the color of your skin is black, and I tell another person the color of his skin is yellow, and another person, the color of his skin is tan, and another person that his color of his skin is white, then what color light is it? You tell me. What color light am I referring to? Because light must have a color in order for it to be seen, especially with the naked eyes that we see now. So that light is black light, yellow light, tan light, and white light. So now, if that's the case, let's take a look at the word sin. The word sin represents what kind of light? It represents darkness. So, if sin represents darkness, then that means that the light is considered being what? Dark light. Another word for dark will equal black. So, when you say the word sin, or someone is living in sin, that means they're living in darkness, or they're living in dark light, or they're living in dark, or black, or how about this? They're living in what? Black skin. Something to think about, because the word sin means darkness. What's the difference between the blackness of someone's skin and the darkness of the universe? It's still the same color, is it not? So therefore, guess what? If we say that the color light is white, if we say light equals white, then what is that referring to? That's referring to what? Because Jesus says, I am the light, because that equals Jesus. They say Jesus is the white light. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. Because the reason why is this, and that means if Jesus is white light, then therefore, if Jesus equals God, then therefore, God is what? Also white. Case closed. That shouldn't be. Because the whole universe is dark. And the lesser light that you see in the universe is the lesser light that's here on this planet. And the greater the darkness above is also the greatest darkness here below. And that's here on earth. Case closed.